Hi, everybody. It's Rebecca Johnson of Supergirl Radio. I'm just going to get the live stream started here. We'll get to be talking about Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, number 7, in a little bit when we officially get started. But I'm just getting the live stream started so people can join in as they see fit. So if anybody has any questions or comments before we get started, we will be taking those. I'll answer any questions anybody in the live chat has. So if you have a question or a comment, just leave it in the live chat and I will get to it. We are going to be talking about Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, number 7. And then next week, we are going to be talking about the finale. So I guess this issue number 7 is the penultimate issue of Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. So we'll be talking about the final issue, number 8, next week. And then I'm going to be going to Superman Celebration next weekend. So I'll be doing some man on the street interviews and seeing what's going on there in Metropolis, Illinois. Making that a point to be an annual trip for myself because it is a very much a community-driven fair. Maybe you could call it a small town fair. They have vendors and activities, and so it's a really good time to get together with a lot of people. And a lot of the people that come every year. So I even just having gone twice, I saw some people I knew the second time. So I'm looking forward to going back to Superman Celebration in Metropolis, Illinois. So we'll check that out, see what's going on there. I'll be hunting for the Supergirl Radio brick that is going to be outside of either the Superman statue or the Super Museum. I'm not sure where it's being placed, but we did purchase a brick with the Supergirl motto and the Supergirl Radio logo on it in honor of our community that we've built on the show on Supergirl Radio. So and I'm interested and excited to see where that is. Hopefully it will already be placed somewhere and we'll be able to see it out and about. Probably also go into the Super Museum. So if anybody has any questions about that, let me know. But we'll have a Superman Celebration live stream to recap that when I get back. All right. So I see Morgan there. Are you ready to go? Give me a thumbs up or a wave. Okay.
Trying to figure out comicsology. Always a difficult proposition.
Trying is the key word there for comicsology.
Why is it like this?
What are you trying to do?
I'm literally just trying to figure out how to get to my own books that I own.
So if you go to, are you on the web version, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
So if you go to comicsology.com, which turns out to be like the Amazon user interface, and then go to my library, it's on the
why
upper
can't
right.
You get to this besides like putting in comicsology.com? Like if I wanted to, you think that there would be a way to do this through like just going to Amazon, but I always struggle with like starting out in Amazon and not finding it.
I don't think you can. Unless you have to like search for the actual individual book in like the search function and then see that you've already bought it. Like I don't know how you would do that.
Doesn't make any sense.
So you have to go through at least I've been going through comicsology.com and then going to my library at the top right, and that should take you to your books.
I got there.
Okay, good. It's a long process, but I too noticed that you couldn't do it through Amazon.com, which is so very strange. I'm not entirely sure why you can't do it that way, but so there is that. All right. So do you have the doc? Are we ready to go and talk about this penultimate issue of Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow? Very excited. All right. So I guess we will go ahead and get the live stream started and officially get things going for Supergirl Radio.
Leslalar's downfall is just that eyebrow twitch that she can't help doing. Could you imagine if Hope was like, let's add that to the PowerPoint? Excuse me?
What year is it?
How old am I? how a podcast breaks up.
This is the last episode of Supergirl Radio. You want a Kryptonian? You got one.
Is it a movie about saving Argo? The answer to that one is no. It's called Witch for a Summer! ! Where does she want to go? Ask her. Talk to her. Really commune with flat Supergirl.
Did we set the bar too high or too low?
I think we set the bar real medium.
You're an intensely adequate podcast.
Good.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Benoist, and you're listening to Supergirl Radio.
McGurk! I love
Not
typing.
mess with my Google Docs, Meeksy.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Kira. I love that.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom, because really?
She looks like a boss in this coat.
Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. So fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Welcome to Supergirl Radio of Tomorrow, your source for Tom King's comic run on Supergirl titled Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. My name is Rebecca Johnson.
I'm Morgan Glennon.
And for this episode of the podcast, we are live and wire and ready to discuss and review Supergirl Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, specifically number 7, which was written by Tom King, penciled and inked by Bilquis Evely. Colorist is Mateus Lopez. I always hope that I'm not butchering anyone's names. My apologies if I am. And Clayton Cowles is the letterer. But before we get to the discussion of this penultimate issue of Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, the series, we need to get to
The news.
The Flash podcast recently interviewed showrunner of The Flash, Eric. I don't know why I said it like that. Eric Wallace, about his meeting with a Supergirl alum and how this character will fit with one of the Flash regulars. Here is a clip from that interview.
So I'm going to follow up on something that you and I talked about, where you, like, if you watch the video, like, you kind of, like, blew my mind because I had to start thinking, like, who is he talking about? You mentioned that you had a conversation, you were going to have a conversation with a Supergirl alum who hasn't been on The Flash, as you said. Not going to ask who, because I know you won't say, but how did said meeting go? And is it something we could look forward to in season 9?
Yes. The meeting went wonderfully. Absolutely wonderfully. Again, without revealing any spoilers. During the course of the meeting, I figured out how now to get them into the show, because it's summertime and I'm putting together my document, right, for season 9. And the question was, how will this particular Supergirl character fit in with a particular story for one of our Flash regulars? It's very important that they mesh and that the storyline speaks to both characters. I'm happy to report that mystery and that problem has been solved. So I don't know if we can work it out schedule-wise now, but for me, creatively, the biggest hurdle has now been leaped over. And this particular person was like, "Oh, this sounds fantastic. Let's do this." And I said, "Okay,
awesome.
I'll get back to you." And I said, "I'll call you in 4 months." Right. So fingers crossed. I don't like to promise things that aren't, definitive because a lot of things could happen. This performer could be on another TV show or in a movie or on Broadway or wherever. I have no idea. Our episode order for season 9 is still not locked in. So even as I'm planning for season 9, I have to have a little leeway in it because I might get more episodes than I think I'm getting, or I might get less. So I have to kind of juggle all of these balls, but I am now very cautiously optimistic that the conversation I referred to can happen because we definitely had a big step forward on that. So stay tuned.
Yeah. So everyone watching this, have fun in the comment section, speculating who it is.
So Morgan, I feel like we should speculate given this information. What do you think?
Like Shannon. Speculate. I think the two that popped to my mind immediately were Brainy and Dreamer, because I don't think either of them have been on The Flash, and Alex has. You're not getting Melissa Benoist back, so
he
not
did
gonna
say
wish.
someone who could potentially be on Broadway, and I was like, oh no,
Melissa. I don't know. Has David Harewood, has like Jean been on?
He was, I think, in the Flash duet episode when Supergirl and the Flash did their musical episode. He sort of showed up with Mon-El to get Kara. So I think David Harewood, I guess that would qualify as being on the Flash. Some folks on a previous episode of Supergirl Radio mentioned maybe Katie McGrath. That maybe Lena has not also appeared on the Flash.
True. The only reason I didn't think of Lena is that I know that she is going to go and do that John Wick show.
Right. She is
John Wick, still John Wicking. So
she may be committed elsewhere. That's a good point.
But I mean, depending on when those shoot, that could always be up in the air. She could be like, listen, John Wick, still John Wicking, just wrapped. I'm ready for you guys.
Yeah, it is. It's quite interesting. I did lock on to the idea that he has documents that he uses Eric Wallace, and I don't know if that's Google Docs
documents
or if he's like typing things out on a Word doc. Word docs.
Word docs. Come now,
they're the worst. I like to imagine that Eric Wallace has a big database of Google Docs that he uses.
That he like searches for different keywords in it.
You know, I have to say I haven't watched The Flash. I'm just confessing on Supergirl Radio. I have not watched The Flash in seasons.
Seasons for me.
I think season 5 might have been the last time I watched it.
Oh my god, you might have watched it more recently than I remember getting caught up for a crossover, not Crisis. So
that was a while ago.
That should tell you how long ago it was since I watched The Flash. When we watched it to talk about the Alex being on the show, I was like, who are all these people?
Yeah, so I haven't watched it in a while, but Eric Wallace sort of makes me want to watch it because he's very enthusiastic about what he's doing. So I appreciate his level of excitement about his job and about the show. It kind of makes me want to get back into that.
And there seems to be a level of planning going on here that I'm not familiar with.
I'm not used to that.
I don't know how that works.
Like characters meshing and their stories going together. What is that like? I don't know.
I'm used to it being more of like just a feeling of like a vibe. It's like, ooh, Katie, you're kind of serving me a little bit of a witchy vibe today. Oh.
Let's write that in.
Katie's like, I wore a scarf one day.
But you do bring up a good point about the new characters on the show. So apparently the Supergirl alum is supposed to have some sort of connection with a regular that's currently on the show, even though we don't know what character that is. So we cannot make a really good speculation because we don't have all the information.
I couldn't even list out the characters currently on this show. I know
Barry,
it's like
Iris,
the Flash, Iris's dad, maybe.
He may have left the show. I'm not sure.
He's got a fiance. She was really mad in the last episode
Oh,
I
she
watched.
was
a
tough to watch. Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
And then there's like intern girl or something, and then her
Right.
love interest other guy. So maybe it's intern
I think his
girl and
name is
other guy.
Chester, maybe? Is his name
Yes,
Chester?
I think
Am I
it was
mixing that up?
Chester because I was like, who is named Chester?
Yeah, other guy also works, I guess. Yeah, so I think and
Oh,
Danielle
and
Panabaker
yes,
as Caitlin Snow
and Caitlin Snow.
is
Maybe it's a Caitlin Snow
yeah, I
storyline.
think
I
Killer
remember her.
Frost spoiler alert, I think Killer Frost was killed off.
Oh no.
Oh,
Yeah, I think I
no.
heard. I think I saw or heard that too. So
So I don't think we
maybe
can
R.I.P..
speculate. Maybe we're not really sure. We think maybe. So I don't think we can speculate based on a connection with Killer Frost because that may or may not be happening. So who knows who this character is? But I think the three best candidates, I think, in my opinion, are Brainy, Lena, and Dreamer, Mia.
Now, who would you like to see besides obviously Kara is who I would like to see the most.
Oh, she
But-
never got a closure with Barry. She never got like a
But-
final
I
thing with
know.
the Flash.
But taking Kara out of the equation, who would be your second up to see if it could be anybody?
I mean, I think Brainy could be interesting just because they have a lot of like brainy kind of characters and a lot of technological things. And they are always having like with the Flash, they always have to like calculate speeds and
Yes.
velocities and all that kind of stuff. He seems like he would be a really useful character, but I have a feeling that with the Flash and time travel and things that go on, because, you know, Barry on the Flash, on the TV show, he has a lot of like future visions of like, I'm going to die. I have to prevent all these people from dying. This always happens to him like once a season. So I could see Dreamer being a way to do that so that Barry doesn't have to do it again.
Or like, what if they have conflicting dreams and then they have to like
Oh.
dream duke it out,
Like a dream off.
a dream off? What if but it's like a true dream off where they just like fall asleep at each other? It's not. Listen, it's not gonna be great television, but it will be accurate to their powers. Yeah, no, I would like to see. I think Dreamer's a good candidate. I think I would like to see Brainy because it could be a little bit of redemption for him. Like he could be like, hold on, I've got a plan that will work this time. and then maybe the plan would work. And then they'd be like, wow, you're so smart, Brainy. And he'd be like, I know. I've been trying to be this smart for years. So I feel like I just want to give Brainy, like, just give him his flowers, you know, just give him his flowers.
Yeah. I think that would be really nice if he actually got to go on there and be the smartest one on the show who outsmarts everyone. That would be a great use of Brainiac 5. But yeah, I guess we're still waiting on that. It sounds like what stinks about all of this, I think, for Eric Wallace is that he keeps having to sort of rework things like based on how many episodes he's given. Maybe he doesn't have enough episodes. Where does this episode take place? So I do have some empathy, I guess, for showrunners like this because they do have to deal with a lot of outside external forces that prevent them from actually doing their jobs.
Yeah, that's a lot of uncertainty to have to kind of like write around. Like it could be this many episodes, it could be that many episodes. Like maybe we'll have time to do this like fun thing in the middle of the season. Oh, wait, we won't have a middle of the season. Like they just don't know yet. So it must be really hard to plan.
Yeah, I can't imagine doing that. It seems like that's kind of a bad way to operate. They shouldn't have, well, I don't know, with all the merger stuff going on, maybe they're still trying to figure out what they're allowed to do because it seems like the network should just tell them, oh, you've got 15 episodes, go. But maybe they can't because of the merger stuff that's been happening. All right. Well, we don't really have any information to be able to speculate properly on this. And so we're just guessing at this point. But our best top 3 options, Brainy, Nia, and Lena. So we'll see what happens.
I've got a flash question that shows you how much I've been paying attention. Has this been confirmed as their last season?
Oh, that I don't know.
Or am I just assuming because it's season like 9 or 25 or whatever?
That's a question for Andy. We'll check in with him.
We'll loop him in.
See, yeah.
We'll loop him in. We'll ask some questions, some hard-hitting questions.
The Flash is aging a little bit, so I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't think they've announced that as of yet.
Okay, yeah.
I don't think so. But yeah, we'll have to check on that. Would that clue you into something if it was the last season?
No, not
that
at
wouldn't
all.
help you with the speculation. Okay.
No, I was just wondering. I was just kinda
You were
curious.
just curious.
I feel like if this all pans out, he was very like he doesn't really know. Obviously, he's in planning stages and he can't promise that this is even going to happen. As he said, like the actor could go and do a Broadway show or get another TV show and not be available. But if this happens, I would be excited to watch, to just check in on one of the characters from Supergirl, see how they're doing. If it's maybe it's Martian Manhunter, we can see if he ever found Magan in that painting.
She's still in there.
What if it is Magan? Maybe that's
oh man, that would be awesome.
No one would see it coming, is the thing.
We never thought about Magan. It actually could be her. It could be Julie Gonzalo, Andrea. It could be Andrea. Oh man,
he's like, we've got a big juicy storyline for Akrada, and everyone's like, who?
Man, I would love it to be Magan. That's
She's
like my top choice now.
"Vindication."
That is my top choice now.
I've been out there patrolling for months.
Where has everyone been?
No one even calls me.
I'm gonna be so disappointed because it's probably not gonna be Magan. But God, that would be so good.
I think we hyped it up too much now, and now I'm gonna be like, that's what I want now.
You have ruined me for it. Thanks a lot.
And
I'm
it's
gonna be so disappointed.
It's one of those like day in the life episodes, and we just find out what she was doing during all of season 6. She like flashes back. She's like, oh yeah, and then we like find out all these heroic things she was doing while everybody else had just like
this epic storyline.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, I actually kind of saved the world, you guys.
Oh, I would watch that so much. All right. Well, I guess we should get to talking about the comic that we gathered to discuss, which is Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow number 7. But before we get into that, I wanted to bring, because I sort of kind of in a loose way promised that I would bring some examples of some things I talked about with issue number 6. So we had some discussions about the black and white place is kind of what we talked about. So I brought some examples of the black and white place in terms of the artistic depictions of the Phantom Zone. And I also brought a couple of examples of the time travel as depicted as rainbow colors. Colorful time travel. So just so you can see, and people in the audio version of the podcast, I'm going to give you some comic book issues if you want to go look these up. If you're just listening to the audio version, but one of the examples I pulled was from Action Comics number 287, which is an example of Supergirl and Streaky in the Phantom Zone. So you can kind of see that they are sort of floating around in some black and white stuff, and the characters themselves are a white amongst a sort of a black windy sort of blurry background. So that's kind of what the Phantom, it's sort of like they're stuck in a twister. So that's kind of what the Phantom Zone looks like in Action Comics number 287. And then as far as the rainbow time travel, I brought some examples from Action Comics number 295 and Action Comics number 302. So you can see in Action Comics number 295, Supergirl is traveling back in time from 1955 going into kind of 1948. She's going from pink to yellow to orange to green to blue. So going down the color spectrum through time. And then in Action Comics number 302, Comet the Superhorse joins her in this time travel. So he is also time traveling through the colors of the decades. So from 1963 into 1910. So that's what they're doing in that issue. So they would do quite a bit of time travel, but also Phantom Zone depictions in the Silver Age. So those are the things that we talked about in Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow number 6. And so I just wanted to bring some better examples of that. So people watching the video and then also listening on the audio version of the podcast can at least hear what that would have looked like. So hope that fills in some gaps about that. All right, so I guess we should get into it. Go and start talking about Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow number 7, which is this week's issue that we're going to talk about. The description for this one reads, quote, "It's been the moment you've been waiting for, the capture of Krim. With the fugitive in custody."
Yes.
Oh, yeah. With the future in custody. With the fugitive. I kept talking about time travel and I said future.
Now we have the future in custody.
With the fugitive in custody, Supergirl must now deal with his allies, the ungodly brigands. To stop them once and for all, she must leave Ruthie behind with the man who killed her beloved father. Can she trust the young girl to let the villain of our story live long enough to stand trial? Or is this the tragic end of his story and ours, unquote. So that is the description for Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow number 7. So Morgan, what did you think about this issue? Did you think that Ruthie was going to kill Krim?
Kind of.
Oh.
I have to say, I thought that cliffhanger at the end of this issue was really good because I was like, Ruthie girl, I don't know what she's gonna do. I really don't. She was like, "Don't worry, Common. I would never lie to you. You're my best horse." And he's like, "Okay, off to save the day." And then he disappears, and she's like, "Well, I lied to a horse." Dun dun dun. I like the line about like, I feel like it's hard to lie to a horse. Hard, but not impossible. Basically, it's like the line that she does, and it's like, whoa, stuff is popping off. I'm trying to find like the exact line because it was so funny.
There's a question in there that's like, have you ever lied to a horse?
Yeah,
and I was like,
have you ever lied to a horse before? And it's like, I think what I really love about this run is that it takes itself so seriously, but it will say like some of the wackiest stuff that you can imagine, but like with like a deep like like I can hear like the Western music in the background. It like zooms in on her eyes and it goes like, have you ever lied to a horse before? And you're like, no, why would that ever come up? She said, but you get over it soon enough, basically. Like you're gonna feel guilty. The horse trusted you. He is a pure being. And yet you can make it up to him by giving him some sugar cubes and some apples. And so there are upsides. So it kind of left me in suspense about like, what is Ruthie going to do now that she's, that was her mission, was to track down Krem, who killed her father. She's a very like Princess Briding it, like and she's like, you kill my father, prepare to die. And so I think I wouldn't be surprised if the next issue has to do with like more with maybe even like what's Ruthie's choice, and will that time that she spent with Supergirl, will that influence her one way or the other to like what she ultimately decides to do? Because we have to remember, it's not just that like, don't kill, it's bad, which it is. I feel like it's kind of important to say that.
We need to say that.
It is
clarification.
Bad.
Yes. Don't do it.
Kind of a glib way. It is bad.
Yes. 100%.
But also, he's the only one who knows how to cure Crypto, a very important dog. And so I like, as much as I want her to get her revenge, Crypto,
we got to save Crypto.
You can't do it at Crypto's expense, Ruthie. You know how many super dogs you get in this life? Probably not that many. And sure, a super horse is also great. Supergirl undoubtedly has some of the best pets, but She has the pets every little girl wants: a horse, a cat.
I mean, those I know that seems like a stereotype, but it's true. Like those are accurate
everybody
stereotypes.
does want a pony. uh, this is coming from me, a horse girl who never rode any horses in any way, but did read like a bunch of like horse themed books. Man, the storylines in Thoroughbreds, the book series, were they're hauntingly deep, and I could still talk about it, but I won't. But but so like basically he has the solution to how to save Crypto, but if she kills him, what happens to Crypto? I don't think it's
Crypto
anything
dies.
good. I don't think
Yeah.
it's anything good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we know from the first issue that the narration, Ruthie, I think, tells us that Supergirl kills Krim. So I don't know if we should be looking to that for the final issue. I don't know how that's going to go down, but Ruthie could also be an unreliable narrator. So
That's true.
we don't really know who to trust. Ruthie is known to lie to horses, so we don't know if we can trust her. So I think I could see why there would be some suspense in knowing not knowing what she is going to do by the end of the issue, because it does leave us on a pretty big cliffhanger there. I did feel I don't know, this is kind of an awkward question, but did you feel the connection between Comet and Ruthie in this one?
I did, yeah. I thought there's a couple of panels where she's really upset because Krem is being a jerk, and he's like, whatever, I killed your dad, I kill him again. And
he was really nasty to her.
Paraphrasing, but that was basically the gist. And she's like hugging Comet, and Comet is kind of like curled around her a little bit, like protectively. And like, I think Comet's just such a great horse is the thing. I think it's important to point out that Comet is the best horse. And he's like, it seemed like he was sympathizing with her, that he felt bad for Ruthie, so he was staying with Ruthie. And I think that he's kind of protecting her. He even at the end doesn't, even though Supergirl's in trouble, he doesn't actually want to leave, because he knows that he's supposed to like keep Ruthie company and protect her, and keep her from doing something that Supergirl might regret.
Well, and he does at one point. He swoops in, super speeds in, and prevents her from taking a sword to Krim. So he does do his job.
One of my favorite moments is on location 24, where he hears Supergirl and he kind of like rears up, and then you see like kind of like his one eye like looking over at Ruthie like, uh-oh. I forgot about that. Well, that's gonna cause a problem. And I also I kind of enjoy the choice to like not have Comet speak. Like Comet's not like talking in this one.
Yeah.
So he's just kind of like, a lot of it is facial expressions, and the art obviously in this run has been so strong, but like you really get the feel that Comet is conflicted.
Yes.
And they don't have any dialogue to show that, and they don't have that much voiceover really. It's just Ruthie saying like, you can go, like, I'm gonna be fine, you don't have to worry about me. But you can see in Comet's face, he's like, I don't know.
Well, Supergirl communicates with him telepathically to tell him to stay with Ruthie. She's like, Comet, don't you do it, don't you come up here, don't do it, you stay right there with her. And
it's
so
just the way I talk to my cats when they're about to do something really bad. I'm like, look, Bunsen, look at me. Don't you do it.
Yeah. So he's got Supergirl sort of in his ear or in his mind, telling him to stay put, but he knows that Supergirl's in danger. And so he does have this tension of, what do I do? What's the right choice here? And so he does get that permission from Ruthie. So I actually thought that was a really cute dynamic in the issue. There's a lot of Ruthie and Comet, and she's talking to him, and he understands everything that she's saying and what she's doing and what the stakes are. So I do like the way that Comet's been handled in these issues. I did have a question for you, Morgan. I want, or maybe not a question so much as like I wanted to float an idea by you. So, one of my friends, Beth, when she was in college, she took like a literature class, and I remember her telling me that one of her professors told her, or told the class, but specifically, she was telling me this. She had learned that anytime there's an apple in a story, that it's like a metaphor of the fall of man in Genesis 3. So it's
Ah.
like a representation of something from the fall of man. So I was curious what you thought about that, because I think there's a case to be made. I guess I could make it, because I thought about that, because there's an apple. Ruthie and Comet share an apple in this story. Of course, in Genesis 3, there is no apple. The scripture just says a fruit. So it could have been a banana.
So
It
the
could have been
apple
a
has been
mango.
getting a bad rap all these years.
Yeah.
The apple's actually been doing just fine, but
So it may not have been an apple. It just was a fruit. We don't know specifically which fruit. But so when I saw that there was an apple, I went back to that to think about, well, is there something to that? Could it be representative of something in there? So I started to think about, what could the apple represent in this issue? So a couple of things I thought about. So I thought about sin, I thought about temptation, I thought about knowledge, because the fruit came from the knowledge of good and evil, the tree of knowledge, the tree of knowledge. And then I think it also could be representative of maybe free will, because that's also something kind of within the fall. Man makes the choice, or woman does first, and Eve gives the fruit to Adam. So I kind of thought about sin in terms of the fact that, like, Ruthie suggests that maybe Krim is ready to confess his sins. That's what she says in the issue. I thought about the temptation that Ruthie has to kill Krim while Supergirl is away, because she could have done it. She could have killed him right there.
Yeah.
She also talks about the knowledge of how to save Crypto that you mentioned. And there's also kind of a free will choice for Ruthie to either kill Krim or spare him. So that was one of the things that I was sort of thinking about in my mind when I was looking at the apple. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that. Like, why an apple?
Yeah, that's so interesting. So I hadn't thought anything about the apple, but now I really see the ways that could talk to so many aspects of the story for Ruthie, especially I think the idea of temptation, because really her whole story in this issue is being tempted by Krem being there and Supergirl not being there,
Right.
to do what she has set out to do since the first issue, which is to kill Krem, the no good scoundrel who killed her father.
Right.
And I think that I can definitely see that, there's a lot of things that she's kind of tempted, she's tempted to kind of lie to Crypto, or not Crypto, to Comet, and tell him that she's not going to do anything, and then at the end of the issue she's like, psych.
I lied to a horse.
I lied to a horse. Have you ever lied to a horse? Is a great line. But yeah, I think that I could definitely see it as being a metaphor for like the temptation that she kind of finds herself, like, honestly, a literal temptation island that she finds herself on.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's right, working in some reality shows as well.
That's
my
a deep metaphor.
literary tradition of trashy reality shows. But yeah, I think she's really gonna have to battle, her baser instincts maybe against her better angels. And she knows why Supergirl has been keeping Krem around, because of Crypto. So will she do what she wants to do, or will she hold off because of this relationship that she's developed with Supergirl? I guess we'll find out in the finale.
Yes. I know you make light of the trashy reality TV show comparison, but also, why the beach? Why an island? Those are a choice. Those are choices that the writer is making here. So I think that's fair to bring up, because maybe it's an isolation, a location of isolation, so that she's forced to make a choice. The fact that
Ooh.
she is separated out from Supergirl, she has to deal with these decisions on her own. So I think those are all choices that are made by the writing here. So I don't think the the Temptation Island is so far removed from anything. I think that's actually a good point to bring up. What else did you want to talk about in this issue, Morgan?
Let's see. I mean, obviously, I think the Comet stuff was so great. I wasn't sure how much Comet we were going to get after the last issue because he really came in clutch in the last issue.
Oh yeah.
But in a more like a Rainbow Bright kind of way. And in this in this issue, he got to have, he's wearing his little cape. Obviously, he looks amazing. But he also gets to have a little bit more of a personality. We get to see a little bit more of Comet. We know he loves apple or apple adjacent fruit items. Uh, we know that he's very loyal to Supergirl because he's kind of acting as Ruthie's babysitter. And we know that, like, I feel like you can sense that Comet is kind in addition to being loyal, because when Ruthie gets really upset, Comet is definitely there for her to comfort her. So I thought that this was a great Comet issue in addition to being a strong Supergirl and Ruthie issue. And honestly, I've read a little bit of stuff with Comet in it, but it was like the really unhinged stuff back from like the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
So it was nice to get kind of a more normal Comet issue and still have him have some like nice characterization as such a great loyal horse.
Yeah, he reminded me of all those animals who can sense. I know dogs are really good about this. I don't know if you can speak to cats. I think when I had a cat way back before, I did not have fatal injuries, allergies to cats. I think maybe my cat did this as well. But some animals can sense when someone is sad, and they can sense that they need comfort. And so that's kind of what I got out of Comet, is that he realized Ruthie needed literally a shoulder or a mane to lean on. So I thought that was really cute, especially, I mean, Ruthie was crying, like she was really emotionally distraught. So Comet was a strong shoulder to lean on for her. So I really enjoyed that aspect of the issue.
And another thing I really liked in the issue was sort of highlighting the kind of like a meta commentary on how hard it is to write the super like
Oh yes,
family, like Superman and Supergirl, because there's a lot in the issue about like, well, here's this battle, and I know everybody knows it, and it's famous, and there's bad poetry about it, etc.
which I would like to read more of.
I know, me too. I want the epic poem version of this. But Ruthie is basically like, and I know you must be asking yourself, like, why am I even bothering to recount this battle that she has with all of these brigands on this ship? Because of course she wins, because she's Supergirl, and where are the dramatic stakes? And I was like, Tom King, who hurt you? He's like, listen, it's hard to write Supergirl. You don't understand. You don't understand. How do I add in dramatic stakes? You don't get it. And I thought that was like, I like the way that it was done, because it was subtle, but it is, I think, a big problem when you're writing Superman or Supergirl, is just they're so powerful. It does become, how do you, I mean, maybe not on the TV show where she was like routinely just like slapped down by like human heroes, and you're like,
yeah,
how? But normally it's like, how do you write a character that can basically overcome anything because she's got like all of the powers? And I like that they presented that as like, yes, this is a challenge, and not just in writing Supergirl, but like you might ask yourself, why do I care about this fight that she's having? And it was like, there's she can leap tall buildings in a single bound, but there'll always be a taller building out there somewhere. And I thought that was interesting, that like, even though she is super powerful, she's also fighting against an entire spaceship, literally, because it's a pirate ship, full of like villains from various planets with like various pew pew guns and stuff like that. And there's like, the numbers are against her, and they've got kryptonite somehow. And like, yeah, there's always going to be a way that you can, make those battles dramatically satisfying, or you can like add some stakes to them. And I thought that was, an interesting commentary on like, I think maybe other writers who shied away from Supergirl because they're like, there's not an interesting story you can tell with Supergirl because she's so powerful. It's like, no, there always is, and you just have to be inventive. Look at these brigands; they work together as a team. But I also think it's the point that even though she has all the powers in the world and she's very strong, there's always another villain that can come in and shake her, or something that can hurt her. I always think about the episode of Buffy where they talk about the Slayer and that like how powerful she is. And she's talking to another character who's a vampire who's killed some Slayers before. And he tells her something like, you're powerful, but all we need to do is get you on one bad day to kill you.
Right.
And so it's kind of like that kind of thing where there's always gonna, Supergirl can always have one bad day, and that could be the difference between her winning and losing. And she's kind of outnumbered at the end of this issue, and she's in trouble. And I mean, I think we all know she's going to get out of it somehow. She's got her horse companion, so how can she fail now? But but I mean, I did feel there was some dramatic stakes there. She's in chains that are like kryptonite chains, and they've got a bullet with a gun with a kryptonite bullet. It's just one bullet. You feel like they might have saved some of that chain material to give them a couple more shots. But but I mean, I do feel like the way that the issue went, we saw how powerful and cool Supergirl is, but also, that she has to work for it, that it's not a given every time that she fights somebody that she's always going to win.
Yeah, I like your idea that it's a commentary on that, because I do agree with you that there is a commentary there in the dialogue. And I think Ruthie's narration acknowledges that this is a tough to retell the story. Even the narration, Ruthie's like, I know this is going to be frustrating and boring for you, but we're going to make this work. But she has a line in there that says, "No one has a monopoly on power." And I thought that was a really good line. So there's a setup, I think, for me in that line to question whether or not Supergirl is going to win this fight. And then we see that she does get sort of captured or detained, and she does have to fight for it. So I like your thought that she has to work for it. It doesn't come just easy peasy, no problems. She has to go in there and she has to really fight for it. And sometimes Supergirl might need some help, and that's okay. So I thought that was a really very inventive way to go about that, because it's all coming from Ruthie's perspective and her knowledge of the past and how she's telling the story to make it palatable to the reader and to the person who is following the story. And so I like that she brings in some of the context of, there were poems written about this, and some famous person wrote something about it, some strange name I couldn't pronounce, Derwerzian or something. This person wrote a couplet that said, "The yellow of her hair, the red of her lip, the wreckage and ruin of every ship." So there were epic poems and a few shoddy ones as well. So I really enjoyed that there was a history to this. I think it was called the Battle of Capes. So there was like even a title for this big battle that happened with the brigand. So it felt like a really epic, eventful part of the story.
I agree. I really liked how they handled that and how they sort of interwove those two stories. I like how this run has been, kind of having like two kind of separate stories happening in every issue, but it doesn't feel overstuffed. Like there's, too much going on. And usually the stories kind of influence and impact each other. And I think in this case, we have Supergirl who's fighting a battle, and Ruthie in her own way is also fighting a battle in this issue.
Right. Yeah. She's fighting an emotional battle.
Yes.
A battle of her own choices. So that's a good way to put that. And I think one of the strong suits for me in this is it's largely a Ruthie story, because she's having to deal with whether or not to kill Krim, and she's having to face him literally face to face here in this issue. But I thought there was actually some really great Supergirl stuff. Supergirl has been fighting the brigands, and then I think she has to go into re-entry back into the planet where Ruthie is. Is that how you understood that? I wasn't
Yeah.
really sure where she was re-entering, but she goes into this re-entry, and while she's in it, they well, I say they, but I mean like all the creative people associated with this book, the art, the writing from Tom King. But I guess Tom King specifically here, as the writer, uses this opportunity to recount some things from Kara's childhood and Kara's flashbacks and her time on Krypton and with her father. So even in a small little a couple of panels there where she's just re-entering the atmosphere, he takes that as a chance to go into Supergirl as a character and dive into what makes Kara Kara and what makes Supergirl Supergirl. So I really appreciated that even with a small amount of storytelling real estate, I guess, he was able to actually use that as an opportunity to talk about Supergirl and really dig into her character. So I for one appreciated that. And even to the point, there was a point in there where there's a mention from Ruthie that she's kind of talking about Supergirl and if she hated the brigands because they, quote, bring genocide with a smile, unquote. And Ruthie tells us that she replied, "I'm Supergirl. I don't hate anyone." And I thought that was a really cool insight into Supergirl because she really does. I mean, I don't think Supergirl as a character overall should hate anyone because she has compassion for people, even if they do a bad thing or make bad choices. She's a character that does try to bring people back, even if they've done some bad things. So I think that's pretty character correct for Supergirl to say, "I don't hate anyone." So
Yeah,
I
I like that
like that.
too because Ruthie also seemed to kind of be implying that like Supergirl might be kind of more her motto than it is how she always feels in the moment, which I feel like is also very human way to look at Supergirl. Like, yes, she knows that like she's Supergirl and she shouldn't hate anyone, but like sometimes she doesn't like them very much, or sometimes she does hate them, but she sort of lives by this code. And I thought that was kind of a nice way to keep that character, but also maybe give her a little bit of an edge. And I think that she doesn't hate anyone, but certainly she gets mad and she, gets upset just like everybody else.
Oh, sure, yeah. I think she maybe she doesn't hate people, but she just really dislikes them.
Exactly. She's just like, I'm
she
just
does not
kinda
care
done
for
with you
them.
guys.
Yeah, so I just like that because there are just little bits here and there that Tom King is able to tell us more information about Supergirl and describe to us about what she's like, even if it's through the narration of someone else or through some action sequences that are going on. I really like that. And Mark has a good comment in the chat where he says, "I really like the way Tom King uses Ruthie to voice his own perceptions of Supergirl." And I think Mark is absolutely correct here. And that's what I've liked about this run is, yes, there's a lot of Ruthie and there's a lot of Ruthie narration, but it's telling us about Supergirl. It's showing us what Supergirl's like and who Supergirl is. And I do think that that's maybe Tom King talking about why he likes the character so much. And I think that's really cool.
So, I see a snap judgment in the comments, but do we want to hold that off until the end?
Let's hold it until after we get like through some art picks and some overall thoughts. We'll star that comment and we'll come back to it, Tiana. So
Nice.
we'll get to your snap judgment. I guess did we talk about most of everything in the story?
I think so. I mean, I think we get the backstory of Krem and why he killed her father.
Right.
Which is, we think it's because, I mean, he sets it up as it like, I was, working for the king and I was seeing if anybody would disrespect him. And then the twist, I think that her father didn't disrespect the king at all. He just made Krem feel small.
Yeah, he didn't laugh at Krim's joke.
He didn't laugh at Krem's joke, and not just that he didn't laugh at the joke, but that he reacted by telling him to like get off of his property and like get out of his face and
Yeah.
like you're being a real weirdo, get out of here.
Yeah.
And he didn't like the way that Ruthie's father made him feel inferior and made himself seem like he was superior. And I thought that is really interesting for like a, for a Krem villain backstory. Is it's not that, it was obviously that he's a bad guy, but also, somebody made him feel small and insignificant, and like that all of this, all of this trauma that we've experienced in this whole story of Krem, all started from like somebody didn't laugh at my joke, which feels like a real villain origin story for some people.
Well, it's
just
all
like,
part of his ego. Like it's just
yeah.
all about his self-perception of what he wanted to portray to people.
He
sort
was
of
like,
shattered.
yeah, he's like, he was acting uppity, basically. He was acting like he was the superior person, and so I killed him. Essentially, he kind of explains it like almost like he had a rage blackout.
Oh yeah,
and
like he
came
doesn't
back.
he doesn't quite know when he killed Ruthie's father. It happened, and then he realized he did it. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting backstory for him. It doesn't do anything. He's still a terrible character.
Oh,
and,
he
like,
has
person.
absolutely no
No
regret.
redeeming. Yeah.
He says that in the issue. He says, I got no patience for reform or regret. So he's definitely a bad dude who wants to stay a bad dude.
Yeah, but I thought that the backstory was definitely interesting, and gave him gave the whole story a little bit more depth and character, learning about what actually happened to Ruthie's father, and what led up to Krem killing him.
Yeah, because that's such a big deal in this series. Is it's all about getting vengeance for the death of Ruthie's father. So it's definitely important that we see what actually happened. Because I think before, in the previous issues, when that's depicted or shown, it's more in silhouette, if I remember correctly. The actual murder of her father was in silhouette, so we didn't actually get to see exactly what was happening in that moment. But here we get some explanation of it.
I also like that he kind of disses her for being a girl in this, like that, like, I wouldn't expect it from you, like a toughness from you, because you're a girl and you're emotional. After he just described murdering somebody because they didn't laugh at his joke, but she's too emotional.
Yeah, he does do that. He taunts her. I mean, he's tied up. They may kill him, and he's just taunting her mercilessly. So she's having to take a lot of verbal assaults from him. It's actually impressive that she had such a restraint as much as she did. I don't know what's going to happen in issue 8, but she shows a lot of restraint in issue number 7 to not murder him after he says all that stuff to her, because I could see that being an incitement to ending Krim of the Yellow Hills from her point of view.
Yeah, for sure.
The only other things I wanted to mention were, okay, so I caught that Ruthie said the word prodigious again. She used the word prodigious in issue number 5. I thought that was of interest to my ear, because I was like, oh, the prodigious is such a good word. And Ruthie seems to like that word. She uses that in 2 of these issues. So I wanted to mention that. And I also thought the story of Ruthie's pony dog, which I guess was a pet of hers on the farm, I thought was something, I don't know, maybe I'm reading into this too much, but I was curious about the pony dog story, because I didn't know if that was writing wise meant to foreshadow something or be representative of something else. I couldn't decide if I thought that maybe Krem was like Ruthie's pony dog because of having a potential torturer in Ruthie. The pony dog sort of felt some mistrust with Ruthie and felt like it was abused. I also was wondering if Comet was the pony dog because of the trust issues with an animal that, Ruthie had issues of trust with the pony dog. So I just thought that was really interesting that was brought up. Like, why bring that up in the writing? But I was wondering if maybe that was sort of trying to parallel something else that was happening with either Krem or Comet. I would probably lean toward it if I was going to make that argument. I would probably lean more towards the pony dog being like Comet because of the issues of the trust. The mistrust that was going on. But I could also see an argument for Krem because she says that she did not deny the pony dog any of his essential needs. And I don't know. I don't know what she thought about that, but I was sort of trying to, in my mind, figure out why I mentioned the story of the pony dog.
Yeah, I saw the pony dog connecting more to like her relationship with Comet and and sort of trying to win over Comet's trust and try to say to Comet like, you can trust me, you don't have to watch me all this closely. And then of course he definitely does.
Yeah, he needed to trust her, but she lies to him in the end, unfortunately. So I think he has been put in the pony dog space. So I liked that parallel. I thought that was a good bit of writing. I guess should we move on to the art? Did you have any favorite panels or pages in this one?
I thought the art was great. I loved location 4, which is when we first see Ruthie on Comet and she's getting the apple from the tree, and you kind of see her reaching up and grabbing it and pulling it off, and then you see Comet sort of flying on this island above the waves. Just it feels like the vacation that Comet needs and deserves, and I just want the best for him, basically. And then I really liked, and I'm trying to find it, the panel, I guess the full page on location 9 where the spaceship ship is firing at Supergirl and she's dodging these like energy blasts and she's like hitting something, and it felt very much like things are happening. There was like a lot of energy to those panels, and I think the way that it contrasted with like the other pages of Ruthie's storyline, where everything in her storyline is very like tropical and beautiful, sun and clouds in the sky and waves and ocean and sand, and then you get these panels with Supergirl that are very like black and yellow and red, and those are kind of like the main color schemes, and there's like a lot of motion and movement, and then you go back to the calm ocean oasis where arguably something equally as traumatizing is happening. I thought that was really really great visual storytelling that they did in this one. So I really enjoyed that as well. I think I'm trying to find the panel, the Supergirl panel. Oh, I think it was when she's like, you think that she is begging, and then it does a close up and you realize that she's talking to Comet and she's like, don't you dare, Comet, don't you dare.
You do it.
Don't you do it. I think that's on page 22, and they're like, what's a comet? And Comet's like, you're about to find out. I really enjoyed that as well. And then just overall, we talked about this, but all like the fact that Comet had such a clear personality in this issue, even though he doesn't have any dialogue and is in fact a horse, I thought is just like a tip of the cap to this art team, because they're just doing like so well in the art on this story. Is so beautiful across the board, but even like the characters' facial expressions, and like I can just really tell what everybody is feeling.
Yeah, I agree. I think all the Comet stuff is pretty remarkable, given that he is a mute horse, which I guess all horses for us are mute, but sometimes Comet has been known to speak in the past. So I think that is pretty remarkable for what they've been doing. I think for me, I love the full page of the Brigand ship on location 6. I thought that was really cool. It gave some perspective of how, what Supergirl was dealing with. And I thought all of the action sequences in this issue actually made a lot of sense. I understood what was going on. Even the complicated aspect of Supergirl being sort of was she chained or tied down? All of that made sense in terms of the action. Like I could follow it and I understood what was going on. And I really like on location 21 when you actually get to see the culmination of that, where Supergirl's down on her knees in front of all these brigands and all of the chains or the wires or whatever those things were. They're kind of all over her. So she's trapped essentially. And so I like getting to see the culmination of all that action and seeing what it looks like for her now. And she's really in trouble. So I thought all the action made sense. And I liked that a lot. I think also location 13, I mentioned that I really liked the writing of Supergirl's re-entry into the planet, but I really actually liked the visual of that too, just to get to see what that would have been like for Supergirl to do that. I've seen NASA do maybe possibly what spaceships would look like doing that. I've seen what do they call those, like sort of animations of what that might look like, but to see Supergirl do that, it's kind of interesting to see that as a human being, how well, the human being is a relative term, she's a Kryptonian, but what it would look like for somebody who's not in a ship to do that. I thought the depiction of that was really creative and something that I kind of stared at, and I was like, oh, I guess that's maybe what that would look like if somebody just did that without a ship. So I thought that was really cool to see. I also really liked on location 17. There's one panel on that page where Supergirl kind of busts her arms wide open and she throws all these brigands off of her and they're sort of floating in the air in the panel. I thought that was a really powerful, cool panel to show Supergirl's strength there and show that she does have a little fight in her in this Battle of the Capes epic fight. I really enjoyed that. And of course, location 19, where Ruthie is crying into Comet's head, I thought was just so wonderfully done and just so beautiful and emotional and impactful. So I thought the art in this one was, all of these issues have been spectacular with the art, but I think this one in particular, I thought was really good in the way that it utilized the contrast that you mentioned between the two different scenes or sequences and the way they used emotion. All right. Well, I guess we should get to overall thoughts. Morgan, what would you say about this issue in terms of just recommending it to someone?
Yeah, I like this issue as well. I think unless it really flops the ending next issue, I think I can say that this has been like one of my favorite Supergirl runs that I've read recently. This is certainly in a long time. I just think that they're doing so good at like having this be a Supergirl story, and also bringing in this new character and having her story kind of complement Supergirl's and enhance Supergirl's, that we're getting to see Supergirl through the eyes of somebody else and get their perspective on Supergirl. But Ruthie has her own story and her own character arc, but it's certainly still a Supergirl story, and we get characters like Crypto and Comet that came from, maybe a little bit of more of a wacky Supergirl era. And I feel like he is what he is. He's a super horse. He's literally a horse wearing a cape. But I think that, the story is grounded in some emotion. And so even though, she is literally talking to a horse in a cape, I still feel all the emotions, and I'm still connecting with the story, and it doesn't take me out of it to be like, oh, Comet's conflicted. Comet, the super horse, is conflicted, right? So I love that this run got to do that for Comet and make him more of a serious character, and give, even in this issue, he has like a little bit of an emotional arc of being conflicted about whether or not to leave Ruthie alone or save Supergirl. So I thought that this was a great issue. I thought that the art was phenomenal, as it always is, and it left me on a great cliffhanger, because I was legitimately like, ooh, I know we're gonna cover issue 8, but should I just go ahead and read issue 8? I've been like working really hard to like read the issues like very close to when we record so that they're fresh. And I was like, no, don't do it, Morgan. But it was like a good old fashioned cliffhanger, which I really enjoyed.
Full confession, I did read all of the series, but it was way back when it first came out. And so I've been rereading these because I have such a bad memory. It's like I'm reading them for the first time. Like, I can't remember what happened. So even though I've read them before, I need to reread it again because I don't remember what it happened exactly. And it's actually been helpful to read them a second time because there were things that I caught, like specifically in this issue, that I didn't think about before. And so for me, it's helpful to reread them multiple times because I can sit on it a little more, or I can think about it, chew on it a little more. And so that's been really beneficial for me, even though a long time ago when these issues came out, I read it, but now I feel like I'm rereading it through a fresh perspective. Where I can take more of my time with it. So yeah, this one is a cliffhanger for me, even though I kind of remember how it ended, but I could not explain it to you if I had to at this very moment. So even when we talk about it next week with issue number 8, it'll almost be like the first time that I read it. So that's what I like about this, is that I'm coming at it from almost a fresh perspective. But I really like this issue, and I think I think Tom King is not only doing a great job with Supergirl, Comet the Super Horse has been kind of a standout in this one, and it's been I think selfishly, we wanted Comet on the Supergirl TV series for such a long time, and we never got any any remotely small nod.
Not even close.
Not even close. And this feels like it was almost maybe written for Supergirl Radio, that we've been given such a great appearance from Comet the Super Horse. So I appreciate that from Tom King. All right. Well, I guess that is going to do it for our discussion. But I guess maybe this is the time. We didn't build in snap judgments to this episode, but now that we have snap judgments,
I think we've got a couple snap judgments.
This may be the time where maybe we make some snap judgments.
Yeah.
In the game of snap judgments, each person is presented with 2 options, but must only choose one. First instincts are recommended and explanations are unnecessary. All right, Morgan, do you want to guide us through snap judgments?
I sure do. Okay, so our first snap judgment comes from Tiana, who asks, would you rather have Comet or Crypto as a pet? Now, this is one of the hardest snap judgments we've ever had.
Yeah.
We've ever had. Comet or Crypto?
I love Comet and everything about Comet, but I don't think I just don't have the space for Comet. Comet might require a stable, might require lots of big carrots. There's a lot of maintenance with Comet that I don't think I can provide. Crypto, though, I think I can make room for a dog. So I think I'm gonna have to go with Crypto here, just based on my personal situation and what I can facilitate. So I think I would say Crypto on this one.
That is fair. This is a hard one for me because, as I've well established, I was a horse girl, hardcore. I had every My Little Pony.
Oh, nice.
I knew all about the horses, and I was like, he's so many hands tall.
This is so funny because I remember one Halloween growing up, I had My Little Pony costume. So it's funny to hear that we share those My Little Pony and Rainbow Bright connections.
Right? Yeah. So it's the same genre of time, the same era, if you will. So yeah, I read a bunch of this book series called Thoroughbreds. I never really rode horses, knew much about horses, but I could tell you like all kinds of things about like professional jockeys.
Oh.
So I was very well informed as like a 9-year-old. I was like, uh-oh, looks like it's trouble on the on the stretch. And like, what are you talking about? So it's I feel like I gotta go Comet. And I gotta live my dreams. I don't have a place to put Comet. I don't even have a backyard. So it's gonna be tough for Comet. I'm gonna be honest. We're gonna have to find a barn situation, I guess, for him.
Would Comet get along with the lab cats? Would that be a problem, do you think?
Yeah, the lab cats I don't think would respect Comet's authority. I think they'd be like, "Hey, what up?" And then I think one of them would 100% try to sleep on top of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
That'd be cute.
that's what they like to do.
There's a height to Comet. Cats
yeah,
like height.
and cats love nothing more than being up high.
Yeah.
So I think that would, maybe
would have
Comet
fun
would
with it.
accept that. Maybe
Yeah.
Comet would be like, "This is fine. Cool. Thanks for sleeping on my saddle." So I don't know why Comet's Scottish. So I choose Comet.
It's fair.
Okay. So our next snap is from Mark, who says, "Would you rather relax on a beach with a horse or attain vengeance on your mortal enemy?"
I'm not really a vengeance person. I try to be forgiving. Would I be attaining the vengeance, I guess? Or would just vengeance be happened upon the person? That
I feel
might
like-
make the difference. I don't know.
I feel like you would be attaining the vengeance.
Okay, so I would have to be because if it just happens to
If
the
vengeance
moral
just
end,
happened.
then maybe I'd be okay with it. But I don't think I would want to attain the vengeance. So I think relaxing on a beach with a horse is probably the way. Even though I rode a horse one time and it was a negative experience for me because I think the horse that I rode had been like a couple hours before that had to entertain small children for a birthday party, and the horse was like over it. So by the time I got on it, it was like I'm finished for the day. So I did not have a pleasant experience riding a horse the one time I did it. So I probably would not be riding the horse on the beach, but maybe if I could just hang out with the horse on the beach,
Yeah.
just relaxing.
Sure.
I think that sounds fun.
I think relaxing on a beach with a horse sounds like a lovely way to spend an afternoon, a weekend. I'll do it. I love beaches. We've
Yeah.
established I love horses.
Right.
Do I know what to do with a horse? No. Do I know what to do on a beach with a horse?
No.
No. But I feel like a horse could probably like entertain themselves, right? I feel like the horse on a beach might be like an ideal situation because you know when you go on the beach and you just want to read and you're like there with a friend and your friend just wants to talk and you're like, this isn't great. You know who's not doing that? A horse. Unless it's Mr. Ed, I think you're good. Like you and the horse can just enjoy your time in the sun and the quiet.
Or if you wanted to talk about the vengeance, the idea of the vengeance on your mortal enemy, Comet's just gonna, the horse is just gonna listen. And not gonna tell you that like you're a terrible person for wanting vengeance, and just like listening to your venting. You could vent on the beach about that. You could have the best of both worlds.
I feel like the horse would nod wisely at you when you're like, that person did me wrong, and the horse would be like, oh my God. And would just kind of nod at you and stare at you like, yes, I understand. I see into your soul and I understand. And I'm on your side. And you'd be like, yes, horse, you are on my side. That person's terrible. Vengeance be upon them. And the horse would be like, nay. Throw that good boy a carrot and you're good to go.
So I think really the next vacation that both of us should have is the beach with the horse. So
I'm gonna
put that on your bucket list.
Look up horse beaches and see what pulls up.
All right, that's gonna do it for us on Snap Judgments. No judgments on your Snap Judgments. I don't know, Morgan, if you saw this comment from Mark saying the lab cats don't even expect or respect Morgan's authority.
They don't.
So that
they don't at all. It's fun.
But maybe a super horse, they would have more of a respect for authority in that situation.
Yeah, maybe finally they'd be like, oh, no, I should listen.
Yes, this is a larger animal than me. Maybe I should pay attention to this one.
It's a pipe dream.
Well, we have podcast plugs that we got to get into, but before we get into those, we'd like to plug the podcast hosting platform that Supergirl Radio has been actually using since 2015, and we have some information we want to share about an opportunity that's being offered until June 30th. If you're looking to start a podcast, use Supergirl Radio's unique promo code SUPER to get up to 2 months of free podcasting service with Libsyn when you sign up for a new account. Get your show on Apple and Spotify, get helpful audience building stats, and all the support you need to sound your best. And hey, they can even do video. Bring your podcast to life and have your voice heard with Libsyn. Click on the link in the live stream video description or our audio podcast show notes. We've actually had some listeners of Supergirl Radio who've become podcasters. So this is not unheard of. So if you're a potential podcaster, check out the link in the video description or the audio show notes. So you have an opportunity to start with Libsyn and become the podcaster that you've always wanted to be. All right. Well, I guess now is a good time to get into the Supergirl Radio and DCTV podcast plugs. If you would like to contact Supergirl Radio, you can post a comment on our website at supergirlradio.com. You can email us at supergirlradio@gmail.com. If you'd like to leave us a voicemail, you can call us at 678-718-7252. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram, all at Supergirl Radio. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Podchaser, and Spotify, where we also have a Spotify playlist that includes music featured on and inspired by the CW's Supergirl TV series. We are listed on DC's fan page, which you can find at dccomics.com/DC-fans. If you like what we do, we encourage you to give us a rating and write us a review on Apple Podcasts. If you enjoy our Supergirl Radio live streams, make sure to subscribe to the DC TV Podcast YouTube channel and hit that notification bell to get notified when we go live and wired. DC TV Podcast also has a TeePublic store, so if you're in need of new DC TV related t-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, onesies, mugs, notebooks, pillows, or stickers, go to supergirlradio.com and click on the TeePublic store link at the top of the page.
Supergirl Radio, Superman and Lois Radio, The Flash Podcast, and Legends of Tomorrow Podcast, Blacklight and Podcast, Batwoman Podcast 2, and Titans and Doom Patrol Podcast just for you, Justice League Dark Podcast, Green Lantern Podcast, Stargirl Podcast, Strange Adventures Podcast, and finally my favorite of the bunch, DC TV After Dark, where you're allowed to say fuck.
Always a great one. And since we talked about comics this week, we have some super designs in the DC TV Podcast TeePublic store.
Yeah, we've got some comic-related items. So if you're into comics, we've got some designs, some T-shirts and some mugs and stickers and all kinds of things. I know it's not really sweatshirt or hoodie season anymore, but maybe somewhere in the world it is. Maybe it's a little cool where you are.
Are you in Australia?
Yeah, you can do a hoodie or a sweatshirt as well. It's incredibly hot where I am, so I think I'm going to stick to T-shirts for the time being. But we have lots of designs and lots of formats for them to come in that they come in if you would like to check out our stuff in the DC TV Podcast TeePublic store. And keep your eye out every now and then. There's a sale, so keep your eye out on those, and we'll try to remember to let you know when those are coming. But always check back at the store and make sure whether or not a sale's going on, because you can get some things for a little bit cheaper, which is nice. All right. And we would also like to thank our Legion of Super sponsors for supporting the Supergirl Radio Patreon. These people are Michael, Sam, Anne Marie, Yvonne, Quinn, Nicola, Leslie, Abby Ermgard, Miriam, Nicole, Lizeth, Faith, Brian, Ethan, and Danny, who has become a new Patreon supporter. So welcome, Danny, to the Legion of Super Sponsors. If you would like to become a Legion of Super Sponsor like Danny did recently, you can go to patreon.com/Supergirl Radio, where we have 4 monthly memberships so that you can kind of pick what's best for you and what you like in those rewards. And those just help us keep the podcast going. So we really appreciate everybody for supporting the Supergirl Radio Patreon and helping us keep Supergirl Radio going as we continue on post the show and into the comics and everything that we've got going on. We appreciate everybody's support. You can also find me on several different locations. I'm on a platform called Vero, at Derby Kid over there. I've been sharing what I've been watching and reading. Recently, I watched something called The Battle for Endor, which is on Disney Plus. It's a Wookiee movie.
What?
A TV movie from the 1980s. The Battle for Endor, though, you got to check on Disney Plus, though, because it's one of 2 Ewok. Did I say Wookiee? I didn't mean to say Wookiee.
You did.
I just realized I said Wookiee. They're Ewok movies, which makes it even better. So there's 2 Ewok movies on Disney Plus, which I did not know existed. And so now I'm diving into the Ewok cinematic universe, or I guess the television universe of live action Ewok stories. So the Battle for Endor is actually the sequel. I think the other one has the word courage in it. So I've got to go back and watch the first Ewok movie and then connect the dots with the second one, which stars Wilford Brimley, which is hilarious. Also, Wicket is in that, and Wicket is a little scary. I don't remember Wicket being so scary looking in Return of the Jedi. So it was quite the watch. So if you're on Vero, you would know that I've been watching Ewok movies recently. So that's a lot of fun. And you can check me out on Instagram at the Derby Kid, where I post the occasional picture over there. And I'm also on YouTube. I have a personal YouTube channel, youtube.com/duckmilkprod, where if you want to continue watching my descent into madness on Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, I do live streams over there, just like I do with Supergirl Radio. But I cover Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice reviews from the top critics of Rotten Tomatoes. So it's quite the journey. I think I have maybe 12 of them left to do. So I'm getting closer to the end of my project. But I still got a ways to go. So if you want to join me over there and talk about art criticism and how we talk about film, that's how you can keep up with me.
And you can check me out on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Mojotastic. You can also find me as a co-host of the Legends of Tomorrow podcast, where we are now in our post-show reality quite suddenly and quite without the planning we thought we would be doing. We have a couple of Pride Month episodes that will be going up in June. So we have we recently just did an episode with special guest star Sarah, who was sober in this one. We allowed her to give her liver a break to talk about the Hulu rom-com Crush. So you can find out if we like that or if we maybe didn't like it as much. And we'll also be talking about Kat's upcoming By Visibility anthology comic, which I have a story in.
Oh, look at you!
I know,
writing comics.
My first comic, so
nice.
that was such a fun experience, and we're actually going to be talking about it on Thursday. I think we might be doing maybe even a live video.
Yeah. Subscribe at youtube.com/DCTV podcast. So you'll never miss a live stream.
And we're going to have some of the editors other than Kat on the book. And also some of them are also writers on the book. So we'll have some fun stuff to talk about the comic making process. This was my first time ever writing a comic. So it was
after having read them,
many of them.
Yes.
So it was really interesting. And the process for me, at least, was very straightforward because my artist was honestly amazing. I was joking that with Kat because I kind of subbed into the book at at the last minute. So I was like the last story in, but apparently the first story done because my artist was so fast. But the whole experience was really interesting for somebody who hasn't really done comic writing before. And then, for Kat, who is an old hand at it, she was just like, it's not always like this. I was like, Kat, you always complain about comic writing being so hard. Seems easy to me. And she was like, oh my God, get away from me. But yeah, no, so I'm excited. We're excited to talk about that. So that's kind of some of the stuff that we have coming up in June. And then July is more of a hazy question mark. And we're just going to tackle that when it comes.
I'll have to get the link to that anthology. Is it the Kickstarter?
It is a Kickstarter. It hasn't quite started yet.
Oh, hasn't quite. Okay, so
yeah,
I have no way to point people to your story.
Actually, there should be a what's it called, like an upcoming project, which I am going to put in the comments here.
Okay, and we'll include that in the video description and the audio show notes.
Yeah,
so
and I'll shoot that over to you.
Check that out.
If people want to sign up for a notification when it goes live, you can follow the Kickstarter. There's already like over 200 people who are following it. So this way, as soon as it pops up, you can get notified that the Kickstarter is live. And usually the way that Kat does this, because she is a Kickstarter professional.
She does a lot of Kickstarters.
Is that she has, like, for the first, maybe a couple of days, there are some special special things that you can be the first one to support, and you can kind of get these special goodies. So it does kind of behoove you to follow the Kickstarter, so as soon as it pops up.
All right, we'll include those links. I love the word behoove.
Me too. I was like, anytime I can work it in naturally to a conversation, or even unnaturally to a conversation, I'm gonna do it.
It would behoove you if you want to read Morgan's comic to check out that Kickstarter. I don't know. This is kind of Supergirl Radio business, but would you want us to do an episode on Supergirl Radio about your comic writing experience, or should we make that a Patreon exclusive? I don't know. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I think we can think about it. It would probably be kind of a shorter episode, but yeah, I would definitely want to talk about it either on the podcast or on a Patreon. I think it's good content.
Because I would like to know what it is like to be a comic book writer. I always have
don't know
ideas. I'm always like, I've got ideas. I could list out 5 potential Supergirl stories you could do, and then I'm like,
I've got
I
all
can't
this
write it.
Stuff. I've written one 8-page story, so you really are coming to the expert.
Okay, maybe if it's short, maybe that's more of a Patreon exclusive. I don't know. We'll consider it.
We'll workshop it.
Yeah. All right. We'll figure that out. But that's very cool. So Supergirl Radio, one of us is a comic book writer, and the other one just complains about them sometimes and critiques them. So that's really cool. Well, I'm glad the comic book reading you've been doing here on the podcast maybe
it's been paying off. I feel like it's
helped maybe inform
my
your
Rocky
process.
Training montage has been reading the comics for this thing. I'm like, do, and I'm just like scrolling on my phone.
All right. Well, I guess that covers all of our personal plugs. So that's going to do it for this episode of Supergirl Radio. But until next time, I'm still Rebecca Johnson.
And I'm still Morgan Glennon. And we hope that you check out Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, and support Supergirl Comics.
McGurk! I love typing.
Not mess with my Google Docs, Meeksy.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Kira. I love that.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom. Because
she looks like a boss in this coat.
Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. So fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Yeah!